Hey everyone, my name is Ethan Doucette, and for this presentation, I will be discussing the dynamic between Epicurus's and Seneca's views on death. Epicurus believes that death is not bad, while Seneca believes that death is good. Both have a presently uncommon view on death, but they differ in particular ways that I will discuss later on in the video. First, let's take a look at Epicurus and his viewpoint. Epicurus was an ancient Greek born in 341 BC. He is most known for his lifelong pursuit of the answer to this question: what makes people happy? Epicurus viewed death as something that we should not fear. He firmly believed that the soul or spirit was material and composed of atoms that did not survive the death of the body. In other words, he did not believe in any type of afterlife. Epicurus postulated that we cease to exist after we die. So, who does death affect? Certainly not the people that are alive, since they do exist. And certainly not the people that are dead, since they do not exist. In other words, people and death cannot coexist. This is what we call the experience requirement. In order for something to be bad for someone, that person must have some associated unpleasant experience with that thing. Since there is no experience in death, it cannot be bad for us, and we should not be afraid of it. Thus, death is not bad. Next, Seneca, while drawing on Epicurean ideas, sees death in a slightly different way. Seneca was an ancient Roman Stoicist who was born around 4 AD. Stoicism is the ancient Greek school of thought that saw the highest good as living in harmony with the divine reason that governs nature. Stoics are indifferent to fortune, fame, pleasure, and even pain. As a firm Stoic, Seneca believed that death was not to be mourned over. Seneca adhered to Epicurus' view that the soul or spirit was material, but Seneca believed that the soul's atoms would not decompose or cease to exist. Seneca described that the universe and nature are a complex series of cycles that repeat over and over across centuries. Our death simply means that we are becoming the next step in our natural cycle of existence. There is nothing to fear of something that cannot be avoided or contended with. Seneca states that death pursues you, and it either misses you or finds you and leaves. This is the idea of universality. Epicurus and Seneca approach death from different angles, so what do these viewpoints have in common? How do they differ? First, there are some clear differences between these stances. Epicurus asserts that a person and death cannot coexist, whereas Seneca says that a person continues to exist as part of the universe's natural cycles of decay and rebirth. Also, Seneca seems to focus on the unavoidable nature of death, whereas Epicurus chooses not to focus on death at all, since we cease to exist. Second, there are some similarities between their views as well. Both philosophers see death as something that should not be feared. Also, both Seneca and Epicurus see the body as purely material. As you can see, these viewpoints collide in an interesting way. A necessary question to ask in light of this comparison is this: does either side seem to reign supreme or dominant in some way? Well, as most philosophy does, I will give you multiple answers to a simple question. Each view can be dominant depending on what lens you see them through. For example, Seneca's view, containing universality, would be a more useful philosophy for those that have either lost a loved one or are currently facing death. Epicurus' view, on the other hand, containing the experience requirement, would be more useful as a guide to living and experiencing life despite the impending nature of death. So, what do we learn from all of this? The most important thing to grasp from reading the works of these great philosophers is to never deny death. Epicurus teaches that our death isn't as important as we may think. If you spend your entire life fearing and running from death, how happy can you truly be? To Epicurus, life should be lived despite death. Seneca says that our life is best lived in an attempt to die well. Rather than running from death, what if we live our lives so that our death is a positive rather than a negative? As a final note, here are a few quotes from Seneca. There are more things that frighten us than injure us, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. It is clear that both Epicurus and Seneca see death in a way that very few do today. Here's my question to all of you viewers. What do you think? Do you think either of these views are attractive? If so, what do you like about it? Personally, I find Seneca's view a bit more attractive. I like the idea of living in order to die well instead of a modern view of living to not die or not die yet. In closing, these are the main sources I've used for any of the information I've included in this presentation. For ease, I have posted them in the description, but there's also a couple YouTube videos that I've linked as well. Each of them are around 5 minutes, and I highly encourage that you go watch them because they help me conceptualize this. So if anything in this video was interesting, those videos can also be incredibly interesting. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to any of your comments, critiques, or questions. Never gonna give you